Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I must apologise for last month that we didn't put anything on for you. Unfortunately, we just had so many things to do and really not being very well, if I'm honest. But don't worry about that because I'm fine. But I do thank you for all of those messages of get well soon and you sending me healing, whether you're professionals or just people, with a who like to send healing. It's much appreciated. I'm really grateful for it. But that leads me to what we're talking about today because so many of you have got in touch with me, not just recently, but forever and a day, asking me about healing and all sorts of different things about it. I think it's a difficult one really because the one question that always comes up, should you pay for healing? Well, those of you know me well know that I never have. Mother before me, she was the same. And even when I was doing my big shows at big venues, I would always say to the promoter at the end of the show, I want to allow half an hour of people just to come up, have a few minutes with me who need it, and give healing. But that was my decision. And a lot of people who do their work, Reiki healers or different forms of Reiki, different forms of healing apart from Reiki, if they do it as an occupation, then, that they probably do need to charge. So I'm not really one who judges people in that way. I can understand where people say, well, something like that, that it should be free. I mean, I've had it said to me about mediumship, that people have said to me, well, somebody is as gifted as you, you know, you always say it's a gift from God, but give it free to everyone then. But that's always not so easy either. I'm very much semi-retired these days and just do the occasional event that I want to do. But again, if you're out there, twice a week and doing demonstrations, then it's your occupation as well, isn't it? And I suppose healing can sort of fall into the same sort of category. But learning about healing involves exploring a lot of things really that you might have thought about. I've taken a few notes here and I hope they'll be of help to you. Exploring holistic wellness, if you like, energy modalities and inner work. The starting point is by calming your nervous system with sort of daily routines, I think, like maybe something like yoga or do a bit of meditation and then dive into specific topics by exploring maybe structured courses that you would like to go on with workshops, learning from people who've had a great deal of experience in healing over the years. I always used to enjoy doing that, taking workshops, teaching people a bit of self-healing techniques, if you like. A good thing to do is reading expert literature as well. You can find a lot from the old books, can't you? We always used to talk about the library, but everything's online now. But there's nothing quite like having that book in your hands and taking the energy that it gives. You might want to look into something like the British Association for Holistic Medicines and Health, care holistic and self-healing practices if you don't know too much about healing and it's something that you would like to look into. Most churches, certainly most Christian churches and most spiritualist churches certainly have healing sessions. Again, some charge, others, they put you in the healing book and there's no charging anyway or anything like that. But if you're going along and training, then often, it's something that they will charge for. Self-healing, I think really it very much involves calming the nervous system to let your mind and body find balance. It's all about energy, isn't it? It's all about balance. And even when we're feeling really well, and I'm really unwell, and I'm not been very well at all recently, but I'm feeling a lot better now. And I do know for a fact that a lot of you have been sending me very strong healing. One or two people in particular have been incredibly supportive and kind. Um, Again, I would suggest looking into the British Association for Holistic Medicine and Healthcare. You get a lot of information there. If you think of an inner work, explore concepts like shadow and mirror work to understand your emotions, triggers, and thought patterns. You can learn how to do this fairly easily, really. It's basically maybe, you look in a mirror and talk to yourself. Don't feel silly about it, but, get that link going. It helps you to give yourself self healing and stuff like that. Foundational habits. Prioritize sleep. Really try to get some good sleep. I think sometimes when you're under stress, though, and when you're not very well, that's not so easy. But I think sleep and healing very much play a great part in healing you, really. I think when you're sleeping, you're healing. Well, that's my opinion. Think about nutrition, mindfulness, movement, movement. Especially if you can do a little bit of walking. I mean, I know a lot of people who followed me over the years have disabilities that make walking or doing stuff like that quite difficult. But just walk around the living room, make your mind up to do a little bit of walking. If you can walk any sort of distances, I think if you go for a walk in nature, in the country, I always feel really energized if I walk in woods and think, I've been like that since I was a child. Spent a lot of time living in Wales with my mom. You've probably seen Gritch Castle, as the Welsh say, on the telly. And I lived in a mobile, I'm a caravan really with my mom, and I used to love to get off and walk in the woods and that, and it hasn't changed for me at all today. I still find it energizes me greatly. It's building on those fundamental habits, isn't it? They're doing a little bit of exercise and trying to get as much sleep as what you can. I'm going to keep on about the British Association for Holistic Medicine and Healthcare. But if you look those things up, you will find a lot of information and that will help you. But I've been talking just about energy and spiritual modalities. If you want to learn how to facilitate, I've got to read my own writing, facilitate healing for yourself or others, study specific energy modalities that what you're interested in, what you sort of feel drawn to. I always say this with I'm teaching any subject, whether it would be, working with experienced mediums to improve their work a little bit, the way they give their messages off link with spirit and that. But energy is the same. It's very much about put it in simple terms, learning your own techniques to learn how to get the energy. And it's not hard to do. It's something that you can do very, very easily, rather. We're thinking about maybe doing some workshops again online, teaching you about all these different things that I'll talk to you about on my YouTube channel, which has been proved to be so successful and so many people watch it once a month that I think it might be worthwhile doing some workshops. Try to do them free if we can, but there are charges sometimes that you have to make a small charge, to cover what you do in your time, your energy, the assistance that you need from others to make it work really properly and professionally. If you want to learn how to sort of heal, start off really learning to heal yourself first. I always think heal yourself. So before you sort of start offering healing, if that's what you want to do for others, you really want to concentrate on learning healing for yourself as well. What sorts of things could that include? Well, you've got Reiki and energy healing, learning about the natural flow of the life force energy, often taught through formal workshops or certification diploma programs. I became a Reiki master many, many years. And I'll tell you something about that. I would be careful about going on courses where people say, oh, you can come and do a weekend course or do a few weeks learning about Reiki. You can't. I studied that, for 4 or 5 years under a proper Reiki master. And it took me all through the things that you need to know, the training. And you have to have special techniques as well, where you learn to attune at different levels. If you see somewhere where there's an advertisement, come on a weekly or a one-off, Reiki course with a certificate. I wouldn't waste your money on it really, because it's not that easy. I don't do that today. I just do my healing with my hands really, and through my mind energy, if you like. Hands-on healing, if you like, the traditions of it, where I practice. Unfortunately today you can't really do hands-on healing because you have to be so careful, especially if you're a gentleman. You can't be putting your hands on ladies, but vice versa. You know, it's difficult for a lady healer. She can't do that either. But what I always do, and you'll have seen me do it if you've been to any of my mediumship demos in the past and seen me doing healing at the end, I put one hand on the person's forehead and the other hand I will move it round to where I feel there's a problem or I feel there's a problem, and I don't actually connect. I don't really actually touch the forehead. I'm just as close as you can get really, working in the third eye area if you like, and then the hands where the subject may feel difficulty. And sometimes you will feel it's a different thing to what they think it is. You've got to be very careful what you come out with and say in those situations. We, healers work alongside doctors, nurses, the medical profession, and you must never, ever, sort of take anything on board and say, do this, do that, don't bother about doctors and hospitals and all those things, because it's just shouldn't be like that. It's unprofessional and it shouldn't happen. Doctors and nurses first, our way of healing, whichever practice you go forward with, supportive of. I know I'm going to offend some people by saying that, but it's good advice and it's what I definitely recommend. Well, what else can we say? We talked about Reiki and energy healing, spiritual healing courses. Of course, you can study subtle energy, intuition, and holistic practices through established organisations like the Healing Trust or Stansted Hall, where the spiritualists go for a lot of their training and development and just recharge their energies sometimes. And then, of course, you've got the College of Psychic Studies, which I'm very supportive of, and supportive of them all. And you will see some opportunities, and I suppose it's a good opportunity if you can afford it, or you can find someone who'll do it with you. But it's if you get one-to-one training. Just maybe at the spiritualist churches, you'll find somebody who sees your good intentions and what you want to do, what you want to achieve for others, and are willing to spend time working with you one-to-one. Often, if you do that training with somebody who's already recognised in the field, again, there's probably going to be some cost. People used to say to me about the mediumship, if you do a reading online or in person, probably about £30, maximum £40, something around that. Whereas, I wanted to go and see such and such a person who I'd seen him or her on television or at the theatre, and it's £300 or £400. I don't really like it myself, really, because I think, I've never really looked to be a person who wants to make a lot of money out of what I believe is a God-given gift. In my situation, when I was born a medium, really, to be quite honest, I never really had that much training. Oh, with my mother, of course, because she was a famous medium before me, and that's different, isn't it? But again, you've got to consider those things. I suppose if you look at it in another way, if you wanted to learn about getting books published and you wanted to go to one of those workshops on that subject, learning how to get your book published, that can be quite expensive, hundreds of pounds, hundreds of pounds. And people will say, well, why? You can learn that stuff, learn about it for nothing. But it's all about, I suppose, pay and demand, isn't it? I have never charged. I don't charge for healing, which is what we're talking about tonight. But I understand that some people who it's their job almost, then you have to, don't you, really? There are lots of spiritual courses that you can go, and I've mentioned the starting point, perhaps your local spiritualist church. If you mention you've been listening to me, if it's in the West Midlands or the London area or somewhere around there, they will all know me, and they will probably, hopefully, tell you that the advice I've given you is good and worthwhile. But let's carry on talking about what we were doing. I would suggest training, if at all possible, with people who've got experience, who've been doing the work for a good many years. Sometimes, for healing for yourself, you need to make sure that you're seeing someone who's a trained mental health professional. We all have phobias, don't we? We all have them. And those, it can be cured just by spiritual healing. But also, if it's in your psyche and it's part of your mental, and I don't mean that to suggest that you're mentally having any problems, but a professional with that sort of experience may be very helpful. Holistic medicine complements your journey by reading expert books or attending retreats. That's another thing, really, but it's not cheap. Well, sometimes it is, but a very good way of doing any sort of progressive work in your spiritual pathway, whether it's maybe mystic or the healing pathway. I think retreats can be very, very good because you go away, you're working with like-minded people, often at nice places, I suppose. Comes to mind somewhere like Glastonbury. You always simply have to see courses there at Glastonbury, weekend breaks, or that sort of thing. And I'm a great believer in them. But again, prepare yourself. There'll probably be a cost, and there's got to be, hasn't there, really? If the leader is teaching perhaps 20 or 30 people, they'll have had to hire rooms. If you're staying overnight and you're not sorting out your own accommodation, if they're sorting that for you, that has to be paid for, your food and all that sort of stuff. But I think, as I've said already, reading expert books is very good. Attending retreats, like I've just said, especially if they focus on mindfulness and sometimes trauma-informed practices. By trauma, what do I mean? If you've got problems that you feel are stopping you from progressing or are causing you blocks, that would be the sort of trauma that I'm talking about, without going into that, I think you understand what I'm saying. A very well mind is a very well person. Read up and see what you think would suit you. And now to sort of make really that would probably help you with this spiritual and energetic healing practices are complementary to traditional medicine, not there to replace it. I know I've already said this, and I'll probably say it again before I finish. They're there to support traditional medication and those sort of things and support it, not to replace it. I've been horrified really when I've heard of people who, have very advanced various conditions, and they've stopped seeing the consultant at the hospitals or the doctors, and and they've gone in touch with me, sort of, if I can help. My first suggestion is to immediately get back to hospital, and listen to the physicians and the medical experts alongside your complementary healing, of course. Alongside your complementary, if you're getting that at your local spiritual church or something like that, Fred, or if you want to, you feel well enough to go on different courses and do training, and you're prepared to realise that it's going to probably cost you, reasonable amounts of money, that would be your decision. But always let this type of spiritual in context of any sort really be supportive to traditional medicine. What am I saying? Listen to your doctor, listen to your consultants, your specialist nurses, all those people of that nature. And I'll tell you what you might like to look up on the internet. It's called thehealingtrust.org.uk. I'll just say that for you again. thehealingtrust.org.uk, and you'll find that very, very sort of loaded with information that you'll find will help you and give you some guidance on learning about healing. Maybe even if you're an healer already, taking your work forward, Yeah, there are sort of steps, I think, on your journey to healing, starting off, just learning to get that mindfulness, learning to get relaxed, to ultimately, learning, to absorb the energies. I'm not going to say it again because I want to keep telling you alongside traditional medicine downtime, but I will do because that's what it's all about. I have found it beneficial to many people to take regular breaks throughout the day, if you can, to relax your nervous systems. If you can, regularly pausing to, how can I sort of put it, to mindfully embrace the energies that your relaxed state are bringing in. And that will help you. That will work you. That will work you to the right directions. May I just add one other piece of advice that I'm sure if you've followed my work over the years and my courses, you're probably about sick of me saying this to you. But whenever you do any spiritual or psychic work, always say a little prayer, ask for psychic protection from whatever you perceive to be good or godly to keep you safe and protect you. And my advice would be at the end of any sessions that you do as well, close it down with a little prayer and thank the higher energies for working with you, but keeping you safe. Please remember that and make a little note of that after you've seen this video tonight, because it's very, very important. You're opening yourself to energies out there. You want to make sure that you're always protected properly when you do that. I've had people say to me, "Oh, I don't need none of that. My guides stand by me. I'm always safe and no problems at all." Well, maybe they are, but then one day that often I found this. I receive a contact from somebody say, "Oh, Philip, I don't know what to do. I'm having bad experiences," and almost invariably it's because they've not practiced psychic protection. All you've got to do is say a little prayer to what you perceive to be good or godly, your God. Doesn't matter who it is. There's only one God above us all. Doesn't matter what your religion is, whether you're, whatever your faith is, there can only be one God, can't there? So if you send your prayers to what you believe in and ask to be kept safe and protected, you'll never go far wrong and you'll never have no problems doing any of this work. It's when you sort of start thinking, "Oh, I don't need to do any of that stuff." Let's get that Ouija board out. Terrifies me. Doesn't that Ouija board don't terrify me. I think it's experienced mediums. You can use it as a tool. I wouldn't personally, but you can do. But you need to be psychically protected before you do it, or that's when you do start getting to have all sorts of difficulties. And you're probably having to get onto an expert, somebody like myself, or with a similar experience, and writing the check again, I'm not with me maybe, but with most people who've got a great deal of experience and have put a lot of work into this, there'll be a fee. I've never known anybody who worried about that, because when you get yourself in trouble, you want to get it sorted. Psychic protection. Okay. The self-healing protocols, if you like. Well, I've mentioned shadow, mirror work. Uncover the power of shadow work and see how it can transform your life. It help you to understand your emotions and triggers. It can be very useful, that looking in. Let's say if you look in the mirror, you see the real self, don't you? Rather than what you might think you look like or what you feel, the energies that you're giving out. It's a very good thing to think about. Various centers for healing. I think the best advice for that is just get on the World Wide Web and type in, different places, read about what they've got to offer, and see if that's right for you. I've already mentioned very good places like Stansted, Admiral, the Psychic College, the Sculptor. You know what I'm on about, the different venues that you would probably come across. Training overview. And a good one to look at again, I might have mentioned this, but I'll say it again, the Healing Trust You get some good information there. The importance of listening as an aid to the healing process. I can't only strongly recommend that you learn to do that, recognizing the energetic and spiritual significance of the process that you're becoming part of. I hope that makes sense, because it's very important, that is. And you can find a lot of that information on that from the Healing Trust. Learning to facilitate healing involves studying specific energetic ways of doing the healing, and understanding the mind-body connection. That's you, and how you work, what you work with best. There seems to be that many healers today of all different types of work that they use, that I would have a job to talk about all of them, and some of them are very good. As long as they link with you and work with you, that's fine, you know. Understanding the mind-body connection, I think that is important. In the UK, you can enroll in certified practitioner programs as well. I've already mentioned Reiki or spiritual healing, and explore professional holistic courses and undergo various forms of training. For me, really, I think that would be best if you can afford it, under a one-to-one type training. If you really want to progress quick, regularly attending groups that you might be in. Training to safely support yourself and others. I know I've sort of gone on a bit about that, really. Don't need to tell you anymore. Psychic protection is the thing. Top UK healing organisations and courses. I know a lot of people watch my YouTube channel, particularly in America and Australia. So, but probably talking just about the UK, you will find different organisations in your part of the world. The Healing Trust, this highly established organisation, offers a comprehensive 2-year healer training and development programme that meets national occupational standards. They frequently host some free introductory events on Zoom for beginners. So that's a very good one, really, if you look into that, the Healing Trust, and you get some good things there. Going back to the College of Psychic Studies, that's located in London, by the way. This very historic centre offers so many different courses you could do. Transformational courses in energy work, chakra healing, if you're interested in that. Maybe I'll do a workshop and explain to you about, you know, bringing your chakras into balance to bring about healing. But, you know, this is an introductory thing to get you thinking about what you would want to do. And you can do a 2-year integrated healing diploma for a professional career. That would be good, wouldn't it? The British Association for Holistic Medicine and Healthcare, the BHMA, perfect for healthcare practitioners. This is individuals looking to bridge conventional and complementary medicine. There, the holistic practitioner courses explore holistic healthcare from multiple angles, probably with a view maybe to even working within the National Health Service. A lot of healers now are welcome as long as they show proper qualifications, that they're proper people with an honourable way and professional, and they have that certificate or diploma, not one that you've gone on a week's course or a weekend course. So that's not going to be satisfactory. In fact, you might as well roll that up and, well, I think you know what I'm saying, don't you? Right. Steps for your personal healing journey then. You can try this for a starting point and it will definitely help you. Relax the nervous system. Daily relaxation techniques. Just learn a few. And remember that breaks are vital to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. This shifts your body to the natural space area to distress, take away any stress that you've got around you, and repair it. Basically make yourself feel better, if you want me to put it in more simple terms. I always try to do that because I remember years ago I've gone along to lectures and I've listened to them and I'm nodding away and I don't really have any idea what the person's on about, really. I'll look it up after and get an understanding of it. But yeah, it's important to make things simple, I think. Get your hand, don't be silly like me, get your hand up and say, I don't really understand that. Could you explain it in more simple terms? Because all it really means is learning to quieten yourself, learning to attune with your inner self, if you like, and bring about healing. But I suppose we learn to use those big words that I suppose, I don't know, maybe they make it sound more professional. I don't know. If it's for yourself individuals, well, don't be embarrassed to seek professional therapy. For deep psychological or trauma-informed healing, particularly phobias, we all have one. I've got a phobia. I'll tell you this, I'll be honest, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I have a phobia. Now, remember, I've been working in healing all my life. Yeah, I'm a properly trained hypnotherapist, but I'm getting a phobia sorted with the help of others. And sometimes, deep psychological trauma-based phobias, that's what you need to do. There are some hypnotists and hypnotherapists who'll just have you for a session, tell you to forget it, and take your £150 or wherever, wish you a good day. But that can leave you with problems, something that's very deep, and you know that you have to find the reason for what caused that difficulty that needs healing, the same as anything else. It has to be approached in the proper professional way. Well, what else can I tell you? I've said dedicate a little bit of time for each day. It doesn't have to be a great deal, 20 minutes, something like that. And, engage in mindful movement to bring about nice healing balance for you. That's self-healing, isn't it, if you like? Always prioritize as well safety. Spiritual and energetic healing practice. I know you've fed it with me, hearing me say it, but always must be complementary to traditional medicine, and holistic healers do not diagnose or treat medical conditions. There are those who say that they do, but you should not. We are all about working with the energies to bring about balance within yourself, to bring you to a state of being at one and comfortable with you and the life that you live within. I think it would be wrong to close a session where I'm talking to you about healing when we don't think about the world as well, because I worry about the world. I think the world and its leaders are good. Many of them really need a little mindfulness and a little bit more spirituality in the way that they work. Because I worry about the world sometimes. You've got some people with extreme power who, if they were in the wrong sort of, I suppose, mind frame, could end this wonderful earth that we've had for so long and all cherished and progression, because it is a wonderful world. There are some horrible people who run pathways that, that they live horrible, nasty lives, very cruel. But that's part of progression, isn't it, as well? Because I always remember a very good friend teaching me in very early days about progression. I know we're moving a little bit off early, but people will often say this question that I used to ask my mum, it was my main teacher. What about those people who kill and murder people, Mum? They don't go to the spirit world, do they? But they do. They go to what I would call the lower levels, the bottom level of sort of progression. But even them, given the opportunity to turn themselves around, heal themselves, and progress, they might have a lot of many years to spend there before they do it. But that is the way of it. Anyway, I hope I've inspired you to look into healing, whether it's as part of your work or of an understanding of it. And we always remember, heal thyself first. Good night and God bless. And thank you so much for joining me. As always, it's a great pleasure to do this, this video for you, really. And as long as you keep enjoying them, I shall keep doing them. God bless. Good night.